Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about specifically what it means to have Jupiter in Leo or Jupiter in the 5th house. So if you guys are new to my channel, my name is Brandon. I do astrology videos here on YouTube, and this is part of a much larger series that I'm doing that shows every single planet in every single house. So I've already done everything prior to Leo, so Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer, and there's a playlist linked down below. You're welcome to check that out if you have any of those placements, as well as 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th house placements. So feel free to check those out down there. But this is the Leo series, so this is going to be Jupiter in Leo as well as Jupiter in the 5th house. So if you have either of those placements, there is going to be timestamps down below. You can click to which one of those you have and then check it out right there. In addition to that, I will be talking about specifically what Jupiter means in astrology, so feel free to check that out in its own segment prior to anything related to Jupiter in Leo or Jupiter in the 5th house. So, and of course, as you guys know, this is a YouTube video, so feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, all those things. That would definitely help me out here, and just keep on things on moving. So I appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys in the next part, where we begin talking about what Jupiter means in astrology. Okay, so Jupiter in astrology. Jupiter is its own benefic planet. It's considered to be the more benefic planet of the two benefics, which is Venus and Jupiter. Jupiter rules a lot of things related to meaning, belief, purpose, how we extract meaning from our experience, and what that life purpose really is for us. So really how we find that meaning. And Jupiter has a lot to do with our belief system, the beliefs that are raised on us, as well as different cultures and different ways that we can open our mind to other things, as well as mentorship and mentees and publishing, anything that is foreign and culturally different, as well as just spirituality and just really having a sense of faith and optimism. So wherever Jupiter sits in the chart is going to indicate a lot of faith and optimism relative to that specific sign and house placement. And so there's going to be a lot of different things here. Jupiter also, it's really important to know that Jupiter rules Sagittarius and Pisces, therefore it does not function the best in Virgo or Gemini, in the more mercurial signs. But then it is considered to be exalted in the sign of Cancer and considered to be fallen in the sign of Capricorn. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started and just kind of continue on with what it means to have Jupiter in Leo. Okay, so we have Jupiter in the sign of Leo. So Jupiter in Leo is this very loud but very expressive placement. I really enjoy Jupiter in Leo. It has a lot of faith with it that just naturally exuberates, it naturally just kind of expresses. And Jupiter, because it has to do with faith and religion and philosophy, and Leo has to do with literally their sense of self, these people find a lot of meaning through simply just existing and believing in themselves and having that faith and having that self-centeredness and understanding who they are and what their place is in the world. And the thing about Leo, because it rules the heart, it rules that kind of like heart-centered, like course of action and caretaking for people and really just giving to give and really just because you love. Jupiter in the sign of Leo will really be that. And the more it leans into love, it leans into creativity, it leans into fun and joy, the more it's going to feel like that's what it's here to do. That's what it's here to teach. And the more it's going to feel fulfilled, it's going to feel empowered in who it is. It's going to feel more confident in what its role is here to do. So a lot of Jupiter Leo people, they have teaching that is focused around either children or just joyful things, artistic things, and creating things. And they have a lot of creative projects. They're really good at teaching. They have a really interesting relationship and positive mentor relationship with children because they really are about maintaining and pursuing that light and teaching others really how to maintain that light as well. Jupiter and Leo can have quite a large ego as well. They can kind of get pretty out of hand in regards to some things as well. They can definitely have quite a large, bright personality, but that's because they are meant to be seen. This is also someone of a placement that can't really hide itself. It's not really meant to. It's meant to really be seen, meant to really be heard, meant to be expressed. And Jupiter and Leo really urges the individual to really express themselves more and share themselves more and share all of the light that they have to give to the world, essentially. And so Jupiter in Leo really speaks to the individual's desire to find meaning in who they are. And you guys can say, yeah, that's probably just true for everybody. But the thing is with Jupiter and Leo, their faith really comes from their ability to see themselves. And the more they're able to push themselves, similar to Jupiter and Aries, where there's this desire to really teach others of the reasons for why they're there through simply just being and trying. Leo is more of this, when I'm joyful, when I'm teaching joy, when I'm living from a space of joy and gratitude, there is a lot of positivity that can come my way. And that's what you see with Leo placements in general, is all about gratitude and really enjoying and having fun with life. Jupiter and Leo can also do a lot of teaching relative to art, creativity, anything that's a game, anything that's speculative, gambling. They could have a lot of success with gambling or games or sports, performative sports, anything that's creative. So think of artists, think of musicians, think of actors. Those are all kind of Leo people. And so Jupiter here can enlarge the capacity to be those things, or to believe that those things matter and believe those things are really important. So Jupiter and Leo can definitely have a desire to find meaning through art as well. So they can find a lot of meaning through simply exploring different art forms, whether it's musical theater, whether it's dance, whether it's, just visual art, anything that is, very just beautiful and joy bringing is really what Jupiter and Leo really wants. They really desire to have a very optimistic outlook. And the more they have optimism about themselves, the more confident they will be. They need to really work on their confidence. And the thing about Jupiter and Leo, obviously you want to look to the sun sign. So if the sun is in like a difficult placement with Jupiter and Leo, they're going to be asked to be seen, and they might not necessarily want to be seen and recognized. But it's about being able to be recognized and understand that that's okay. And there's value in your recognition. And also there's value in what you bring awareness to in others, what you really bring up in other people in regards to like joy and positivity and light, because Leo is the light, it is the sun, and Jupiter in Leo is really about teaching others through that process, teaching others how to feel like they have a place that they belong in, and they have a place that deserves their light. And so Jupiter in Leo really learns to give so much beauty to the world. And a lot of the time Jupiter and Leo, I see them as ones that when they do have children, or if they have children, their children really are the ones that are a lot of teachers to them, and their biggest blessings. And that can be said for a lot of children, because I feel like they're one of the biggest gifts in our entire world. But at the same time, Jupiter and Leo can almost find a new sense of faith through having a child. And some people might be like, yeah, that's obvious, but some people also might not treat their children that way. They might look at their children as burdensome or whatever it may be, but Jupiter and Leo is like, no, this gives me something to live for. This gives me meaning. This gives me purpose. This gives me something that I can pour all my knowledge into as well. That's another thing. Giving their knowledge to their children, or to children in general, is huge for Jupiter and Leo. And so they really want to invigorate and really uplift their child, and instill them with a lot of faith and optimism and culture. And so you'll see that a lot with Jupiter and Leo. They will, if they don't have children, they will pour this into their creative projects, whatever they consider to be their own baby in a way, whatever they've considered like a passion project. Jupiter and Leo is really going to want to teach so much through their child, whatever that may be, where it's an actual passion project or it's an actual child themselves. And so there is a lot of optimism, joy, positivity with Jupiter in Leo. There, it's a lot about learning how to share that, learning how to create that, learning how to maybe not be too much, be too loud, be too expressive. But Jupiter and Leo really does speak to the positivity and the importance of radiating positivity and not letting that light kind of be muted or deterred or stopped. And Jupiter Leo really does have such a positive influence on the individual that has this placement. And as Jupiter is in Leo as well, we tend to find a lot more creative pleasures, creative stories, a lot more things that are very important for us to tell and pass down our history, our story. And Jupiter and Leo has a lot of teaching to come from their own identity, their own sort of faith, their own culture, their own understanding of their story and their world, and how that can be brought to the next generation, how that story has value. And Jupiter and Leo has a lot of value to provide to the world. It's about just knowing how they truly can do that. And a lot of that is simply just by existing, but they have to learn what area of life they really need to shine in. And that's where you want to look at their sun sign, right? If you have Jupiter and Leo, but you have your sun in Cancer, it's going to shine very differently than Jupiter and Leo with your sun in Libra or your sun in Aquarius, right? or even Aries, right? So it's really important to look at that as well. Jupiter in Leo just really enjoys really expressing a lot of things, expressing itself, sharing itself, creating. And in that, this is very much one of the placements that I think can find a lot of joy in flow, in the creative process, and kind of really understanding that and living within that. There's a lot of power with Jupiter and Leo to be able to express in that way. And so, yeah, I think there's so much with Jupiter and Leo that I think has to be kind of brought out. And it's a lot about you having faith in yourself and your faith in your ability to be seen and your allowance of being seen. There's a lot of that there. So allow yourself to be seen as a Jupiter and Leo, and understand there's meaning behind that. And you are teaching others to also be seen through your optimism, through your growth, through your expression. And yes, Jupiter and Leo can be a lot. It can be overexpresses, overindulgent. It can have a lot of interesting things that it will just kind of go into because it finds them fun. And something that's good for you doesn't mean you have to have it all the time, right? And so Jupiter and Leo is really about making sure that you are finding purpose and meaning every day of your life, and also understanding that a lot of your purpose and meaning comes from your story and who you are and your identity, and really what you see yourself to be. Your place in the world becomes that of a teacher, that of a mentor, that of a philosopher, or just a storyteller. There's so much there. So I would really urge you, if you have a Jupiter and Leo, to really think about all these things and think about the meaning of your life. And it's a really big thing to just think about, but I would really urge you to just start doing those things and start seeing how the meaning of your life can really, really be so big and so important and so worth teaching and worth sharing. And the more you learn how to do that, the better off you'll be. So that's the Jupiter and Leo portion. I'll move on to the next part where we're talking about what it means to have Jupiter in the fifth house. So we have Jupiter in the fifth house. So Jupiter, like I had said in the previous portion, is a lot about optimism, a lot about faith, a lot about finding something and making it bigger. And the fifth house is all about our creativity. It's all about our light. It's all about our inner child and how we are sharing that with the world. And Jupiter in that fifth house really, really speaks to, depending upon the sign in Jupiter, it's going to play so many different roles, but Jupiter in that fifth house really wants us to find the meaning through sharing our inner child, sharing our light, and not being afraid to expose who we are or show who we are, and show and shine and be bright, and really, really not try and hide anything. Because Jupiter in that fifth house, it is going to have various different ways of what it's going to find meaning in doing, right? Jupiter in a certain signs and certain in the fifth house is going to find meaning through different types of things that are related to the identity. But overall, the identity is really important for Jupiter in the fifth house, being able to have fun and speculate and just enjoy what your life can be, and just have so much fun and live from a space of your heart and from joy and just positivity. And Jupiter in that fifth really does have one of the indicators, and this is, I said this with Mars and Taurus in the fifth, but it's really interesting because when we start think about the fifth house, it does relate to speculation and gambling. And so Jupiter in the fifth house can definitely bring that up. It can bring up a lot of interesting relationships with just spending money on things that are trying to get the next best thing, or try and get a car or a contest. And that's another thing. Jupiter and Leo and Jupiter in the fifth, more so Jupiter in the fifth in certain alignments, can also just win a lot of games and just be really good at games and just win a lot of prizes, right? Have a lot of prizes just by simply just entering, right? They could have a lot of luck and just by simply trying to have fun and follow that light and follow that, oh, it's really fun, I really like to do this. And Jupiter in Leo kind of gives that opportunity to them. Or Jupiter in the fifth house, I'm sorry. It kind of gives that opportunity for, once you step into fifth house matters, which is creating things and really allowing yourself to be seen and having fun and having a joyous life. Jupiter here really, really is going to be a lot more beneficial for the individual than not, especially when they start showing up and showing the world who they are and exploring who they are and expressing who they are. Jupiter in that fifth house really does have a really beneficial quality to the native and what they're able to do and what they're able to show of who they are. There's a lot of just like showing and exuberating your light, and find a lot of meaning through who you are, and what parts of your childhood you are sharing. Because there's a lot of sharing of your childhood and sharing of your identity, who you are, what you perceive yourself to be, how people perceive you as well. It's a lot about the fifth house too, like being able to perceive yourself alone and also kind of seeing how other people look at you too. Um, so Jupiter in certain signs are going to be very different in this house. Jupiter in the fire signs like Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius are all going to have this kind of like going after who they are, showing who they are in a very bright way, in a very optimistic way. Jupiter in fire is a very just like very passionate sort of placement. So Jupiter in fire in that fifth house is going to really, really want to try a lot of different things and to want to explore and want to just expand a lot of opportunities. Jupiter in fire does quite well across the board. Jupiter, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, they all really kind of enjoy the optimism and just the movement of life and kind of the consistent growth of life. And the more they're doing that, the more they're following their passions, they're following who they are, and they're following just the faith and the belief that has been laid out for them through their own experiences, through their own identity, through their own childhood. The more they'll be able to really, really have a lot of opportunity given to them to do more, right? Jupiter in fire, it gives you a lot of opportunity to do more with who you are and how you're showing up. And with the fifth house too, there is also this quality of being very lucky with just simply like following your belief system. And a lot of the fifth house Jupiter too, outside of it being in fire, water, earth, air, whatever, all of those kind of speak to there's something in your childhood that is really formative in regards to your belief. And obviously that's very true across the board, but there's like a rich childhood of something that is really required to kind of really learn from and really encapsulate and remember and kind of hold on to and really just kind of have that kind of Peter Pan complex to a degree, and always kind of really enjoy sharing who you are and sharing the light of your life and not letting your light be dimmed. I think that's what's really interesting as I've been going through this Leo's fifth house series. A lot of it has to do with not allowing your light and your life force and you know the difficulty of the world to kind of really just push you down and what people have to say, right? That's a lot of what we think about when we think about Leo versus Aquarius. It's a lot about the archetype of like taking care of your own light, taking care of your own life force, your own energy, your own sort of happiness, your own joy, and not really caring always about the audience, right? And that's where the Leo can kind of have a little bit of an ego and kind of its own sort of issue. But in the fifth house, it also has that same instance where it's really learning about how to work with other people, and it has to really express who it is in its full totality, and then kind of see how that's responded to by the environment and by society at large. It's a really, really cool placement when we think about Jupiter in the fifth house. And it is a lot about those belief systems that are really instilled in us and that those childhood experiences that are really, really rich when Jupiter is in the fifth house. Jupiter in an earth sign, so Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn. These are going to be the more difficult ones because Jupiter does not function that well in earth. It can definitely function well in regards to financial abundance, physical abundance, work, career work, things like that. It can definitely have a positive aspect to it, but a lot of it really is about being able to really build like this practical optimism and this kind of like building off of their own childhood sort of experiences and really creating a really solid foundation. So Jupiter Taurus, like I said, there's a lot of like there's some interesting money stuff with Jupiter Taurus. So when we put like, you know, a Capricorn rising, their fifth house is Taurus, so there's typically some interesting stuff with Capricorn risings in regards to games and in regards to like speculative business opportunities. There's a lot of that that's really interesting with that. And Jupiter here would be really interesting to see how they spend their money and what they spend their money on and how they make money. And Jupiter Virgo here also has a very interesting quality. This is going to be with a Taurus rising. So there is this natural inclination for Jupiter here to really want to just create something consistent with their optimism. And Jupiter Virgo is a little bit more difficult. As a native of Jupiter and Virgo, it's going to be kind of hard to find faith and believe in yourself and believe in what you're creating. And it's a lot about like really critiquing like that creative process, which can be a little bit difficult with Jupiter there. But ultimately, that creative process and the critical nature of one's creative process can actually be really great benefit. There could be a lot of teachers and life coaches with Jupiter in the fifth house in like a creative endeavor or just teaching someone how to really be a be a life coach, be a confidence coach. That could be really kind of cool with Jupiter in Virgo in the fifth house there. Jupiter in Capricorn in the fifth. This is going to have a little bit more of a difficulty because Jupiter does not work well in Capricorn in its entirety. It's kind of looking for outdated things. So this is where you'll see kind of with Jupiter across the board in the fifth, like I had said earlier, there's a lot of beliefs that are instilled within the childhood that are really, really important and really crucial. And Jupiter in Virgo, Jupiter in Capricorn are going to have a little bit more difficulty with kind of letting go of those for different reasons. Jupiter in Virgo is trying to integrate them, and it's trying to make it work, and it's trying to make all of the aspects and all of the angles kind of work together, and all the different modalities or different sorts of belief systems that they were raised on, and then what they're being introduced to. And then Jupiter in Capricorn is a lot about learning about the outdated systems, and letting go of what is no longer serving you in a belief system. And there is definitely some really interesting stuff within the childhood for that Capricorn Jupiter in the fifth house, where there's this, they need to really understand that their beliefs will come from time. Their ability to see themselves will come from time. And that's we'll get to that when we get to Saturn in Leo as well, because and Saturn in the fifth house, because there's a lot of different things there. And also too, it's important to look at what Jupiter's like planet is. I'm sorry, well, what the sign Jupiter's in is planet is in. That made no sense. You knew what I meant by Jupiter Virgo is doing its thing. But essentially, if you have your Jupiter in Capricorn, look to your Saturn. If you have your Jupiter in Virgo, look to your Mercury. If you have your Jupiter in Taurus, look to your Venus. Those sorts of things. So dispositor is the term. I'm just kind of blanking on it right now. But point is, Jupiter in the fifth in Earth is a lot about the tangibility of one's belief system, and what one has learned through their own childhood and their own childhood experiences, and how to pass that on to other children or just in general within themselves. There's a lot of value there, a lot of tangible value when they're able to kind of bring themselves into form of expression, right? And then we see Jupiter in air. So then we have Jupiter in Aquarius, Libra, and Gemini. Jupiter in air, like Jupiter in Earth, does not do quite well because it has these sorts of like eye in the sky type of stuff. It's not really grounded in its entirety. It's a lot about the exploration of ideas. So Jupiter in air, in Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius are all going to have this kind of like social aspect where they're going to be really rich in that regard. So a lot of Jupiter in the fifth houses that have air ones are going to have a lot of very rich people around them that are very, when I say rich, I don't really mean like financially rich, I mean intellectually rich. They're able to help them really understand more of who they are. Now, this is where it gets interesting with Jupiter in air, especially Gemini and Libra, not as much Aquarius, but kind of all three of them have this quality where they're going to listen a lot. They have a lot of people that they're going to be able to learn from, whether it's mentors, whether it's friends, whether it's their, like average conversation, whether it's online, all these different things. There's going to be a lot of information that they're going to receive from the world about who they are, right? And the thing that's really important about the fifth house is for it to come from you, for it to come from your own inner center, from your own kind of heart space, and from how you are really living and allowing yourself to be seen and heard and expressed, right? And so when you have a bunch of other people in your ear telling you how you should express, or why they believe you are that way, or why they believe that you should look that way or express yourself this way, that's where Jupiter can kind of be a little bit too much in air sign in the fifth, where there's so many people telling you all these different things about who you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to be, how they would like you to be, how they think it's better for you to fit with the mold of society, or what it would be better for your goals, those sorts of things is Jupiter in air. And overall, it's about really listening to them, but not letting them dictate your own truth, your own expression, your own identity. That's a lot of what I tend to see with Jupiter in any of those air signs in the fifth house, any sort of combination with Leo, fifth, Aquarius, Jupiter in air in the fifth house, or Leo. Like a lot of those things I tend to see about people that are listening a lot to the societal expectation of other people, or what their partner wants, or what their family may want. And there's a lot of just needing to really, really sit and discern what is your truth when all those information, those opinions are being thrown at you. So there's that part there. And then we have Jupiter in water. So we have Jupiter, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So this is where Jupiter once again does quite well, because Jupiter likes to be in a water sign where it can kind of explore in the more intuitive sense, because Jupiter really wants to explore and understand and learn. And so Jupiter does really well in fire, where it can take action and it can try new things, and it can, and in water, where it can really intuitively kind of explore and emotionally explore that inner working of oneself that comes with just being a watery sign. So Jupiter in Cancer, this is going to do quite well. This is where I would see a lot, like a rich, rich, rich childhood, especially from the family unit, obviously, because it's Cancer. But this is where the belief systems are going to really come in, and this is where you might have like a preacher or a childhood or like a youth pastor for some reason kind of comes through with this. Like someone who is really prominent about their belief systems and really bringing it to children and to the youth, as well as just to teaching something. There's a lot of teaching aspects that come with this placement as well, with Jupiter in Cancer. But there is this like nurturing quality to this that is really, really beautiful, and a really strong faith that comes with Jupiter in Cancer in specific. Jupiter in Scorpio, there is going to be a little more difficulty in this because Jupiter in Scorpio kind of is meant to go through like the toxicity and the gutter of belief systems and mentors and mentees and stuff like that, and follow belief systems that are, or teachers that are unethical, and then be able to really find the truth through that process. So Jupiter in Scorpio is a little bit more of the difficulty with just being able to very figure out what was indoctrinated into them and what was not, and what is really coming from them. Ultimately, Jupiter Scorpio will figure it out. It does definitely have some unethical teachers that have been involved, kind of similarly with Jupiter and Capricorn as well, but Jupiter and Capricorn just needs time to really unearth that. Jupiter and Virgo just needs time as well to unearth that and kind of to do the work and to apply what they understand, because they are very intelligent. But Jupiter in Scorpio needs to apply it because it's trying to heal from what happened before. So anywho, regardless, Jupiter in the 5th house in Scorpio, there is definitely going to be this creative, this is where the creative pain kind of comes in, and being able to really utilize the pain of their own leadership that they've gone through, or their own teachings, and maybe the unethical teachings of like their mentors or the religious leaders and stuff, and being able to really go into that and just be so disempowered, but then really create something and create a brand new way of relating and way of believing in themselves and expressing themselves. And then finally, Jupiter in Pisces in the 5th, this is definitely going to be the artist's chart for sure. 5th house does also have an artistry to it. So Jupiter in the 5th can definitely be an art teacher or just a creative teacher. Jupiter in fire definitely has that more like physical kind of performative part of it. Jupiter in water has more of that emotional support. So this is where you see a lot more coaches, a lot more people that are really willing to sit through feelings with people and have a lot more spiritual weight with them with Jupiter in various signs here. There's a lot of artistry too with Jupiter and Pisces in the 5th, where there could be this really overabundance of spiritual connection and over like really connecting with like, maybe being like a death doula or with just like a midwife. It's very much very midwife energy, and helping, kind of helping teach children, and even working with children in like hospital settings as well. I can see that with Jupiter and Pisces in the 5th, and helping them really understand their intuition and really working with that. And also too, I want to say this as well at the very end of Jupiter 5th house, but Jupiter 5th house, it can also relate to your child being not only a really great speaker, really great teacher. All these Jupiter placements in the 5th can relate to specifically your child, and how your child, if it's Jupiter and Scorpio, they may have that more Jupiter Scorpio experience. Or the Jupiter Capricorn, Jupiter Virgo, they may have more of that specific experience relative to whatever Jupiter sign is in, right? And that's what's interesting, is because both the Jupiter Leos I know either had their child during their Jupiter return, or they had it shortly thereafter, and got got pregnant essentially during their Jupiter return in Leo, and then the child became a very large gift for them to just help them through a lot of different things in their life. And so there is definitely something here where I'd urge you to look at, if you do have children, look at what that child is going through, and how that child has been, and how that child has not only been a faith anchor for you, but how their belief system has kind of been incorporated into that Jupiter placement. It's kind of a little bit of like mental gymnastics to figure that out and to get to that. But if you're interested in that, kind of diving into that with me, feel free to look down below. I have some stuff down there for booking with me and questions, yada, yada, yada. And of course, if you have Jupiter in the 5th house or in Leo, I'd love to hear specifically how your story has been, what you've been through. And yeah, I love what I love what I do. I love being able to talk about this. This is so much fun. And this lights me up. Being able to do stuff with astrology is one of those things that I really enjoy. And teaching astrology has been one of the biggest things that I've really just put so much passion into, and I love doing it throughout the course of the last couple of years. So this is such a great series that I've been working through, and I'm so grateful for all of you that are watching it, going through it, because it means the world to me to be able to create these videos and have a job that allows me to do this. It allows me to just share my knowledge, which is such a powerful thing. Once you really realize that we're all here to kind of help one another. And so it's really beautiful. And I really appreciate any of you that may stumble across this video and watch it. And I'm just grateful to be able to be here. And that's another thing. There's a lot of gratitude that comes with Jupiter in Leo and Jupiter in the 5th house. So being grateful for your life that you have lived and what you're here to do, and your role, and being able to figure out that role and find the meaning in that. And what I tend to talk about with Jupiter, I said this actually earlier in a client session, but it's important to see like the day you were born, which we see, in the birth chart, obviously, but what's more importantly is the day that you find out what you were born for and what your meaning is behind why you're here. And that's very much a Jupiterian, like, kind of, or a Jupiter, coded sort of statement, but it's something that really resonates, I think, to Jupiter 5th housers, because they really are searching for that meaning of why they're here, and eventually that comes. And it might come early on, it might come in certain circumstances, and that's really true to the Jupiter placement. But I really love being able to just give you guys some optimism, give you guys some hope. I mean, you guys don't really need it as much if you have Jupiter in Leo or Jupiter in the 5th, but I still love being able to do this, and I appreciate you all for being here. So thank you so much for listening to me rant about all these things. I love you, I appreciate you, and I hope to hear from you guys soon. If you guys are interested in any of my other videos, feel free to check down below. And then also, that playlist is down below too. If you have any other placements past Leo in the 5th house, so anything 6th house / Virgo to 12th house and Pisces, feel free to subscribe to that playlist down below and check that out. And yeah, I appreciate you guys once again. I love you. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.